I want to apologize for our late start here. We did have it publicized as a special council meeting that should have started at 6:30, but we had some other business that we needed to take care of. So at this time, I'd like to go ahead and call our meeting to order. And with that, council, I know that we've got a set of minutes that we need to approve. If anybody has any corrections or would like to make a motion regarding those.
So before I make a motion, Madam Mayor, I have a question on the April 29th meeting. That was the strategic planning meeting where we talked about the Case Creek. There was reference later in the minutes as to when the Case Creek representatives left. And it mentioned 2. I honestly don't remember because we've been to several meetings with them, how many were at that meeting. Should, how at the beginning we have... I read it in somewhere that they left at a certain time. Oh, it's not them. Sorry. It was our staff that left. Never mind.
Okay. That's good though.
We were talking about Case Creek.
So no corrections, no changes to the 2 sets of minutes here.
Yeah. So I will make a motion then that we approve the minutes for the strategic planning meeting on April 29th and the minutes for our work meeting of May 6th, 2021 is written.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to our municipal announcements. If anybody has anything they'd like to announce regarding what's happening within our city. I did not get a chance to do a mayor's report in the other room, and I do have a couple announcements there that could be pertinent, not only for the council here, but also for our residents. But one, council, I know that you received a invitation to do a water tour from the Weber Basin District on August 31st. And again, I'd highly encourage you to take that tour and go ahead and RSVP if you could. But then in addition to that, I want you to hold April 20th. It's a Friday, I believe. Excuse me, April. Good Lord. August. We're already into August. Starts with an A. Anyway, August 20th. Hopefully we've identified that date as a possible opening for the Gordon exchange. So we'd all want to be there. And at this time, we're targeting 9 a.m. So I just thought I'd give you a heads up on that. And then also, I've been working on a pretty big project with Parks and Rec and with several of the Interfaith Council. And on September 11th, it's actually a National Day of Service in kind of a tribute to the 25th anniversary of the Twin Towers as well. And so we're actually organizing a large day of service here within our city. So I want you to be aware of that. And we'll, as we put together, we've got a list of projects and everything that we're doing, and we're just called some folks in to kind of help us with that. So again, hold that date open as well, and we'll keep you informed or look for more information coming on that. So anyway, I know I tied that all together and as far as municipal announcements and my mayor's report, but I thought it was important that I get that out there for you. So does anybody else want to have any announcements? Okay, seeing that there's none, let's go ahead and then move on to item number 3, which is a consent item that we need to deal with. And that presentation is going to be presented by Carl, and it's Cluton, right? Keaton?
Yes.
Sorry, I couldn't read the writing there.
Mayor, member, sorry.
So yeah, if you don't mind, go ahead and fill us in on this interlocal agreement.
Okay. I know time is short, so I'll be respectful of your time, Mayor and Council. My name is Carl Keene. I'm the Communications Manager at Layton Police. I'm also the Project Manager for the Davis Area Public Safety System project that we're working on right now. You may remember back in September of 2020, we met and went over some of the concerns that we had in the county of things being inefficient and in communication on critical events and our 911 transfers being more than what the state statute allows. As well as not being able to support the new paramedic program underneath our current system, since we have 4 different public safety systems within the county that are operated by 4 different entities. So at that time, we talked about how we like to work towards having one combined system which serves all of the agencies, police and fire, across the entire county. And we're at a point right now, we've been meeting for several months and going over all the different options. And we have tentatively selected our vendor, which is the same one that we've been using for the last 18 years here in Layton City, as the vendor to provide a single public safety system across the entire county. That's Spielman Flex provided by Motorola Public Safety Solutions. We are proposing a shared funding model where all of the different entities in the county that will be participating will share the shared costs of the new system. Layton's share comes out to about 22%, and those are all outlined in the interlocal agreement that's before you, and it's all based upon population in the county. That interlocal agreement before you also outlines who owns the system and how it's operated, plans for any future changes or expansions or changes as we need, as well as sets out the governance for how the system will be operated by the disparate cities and the county that will be operating this together as a shared system. So we're looking at about a 12-month implementation time to get this system up and running after we do sign contracts. Some of the benefits: it will reduce the response time for emergency personnel. It'll increase the safety of our citizens and our public safety responders across the entire county. It will also support that seamless dispatching of paramedics. Will reduce the number of 911 transfers and will allow us to comply with that state statute that requires us to be under the 2% in a few years. And it will really increase the resiliency and the redundancy of the public safety system in Davis County. So staff recommends that the council adopt and approve Resolution 21-37 and authorize the mayor to sign the necessary documents. Are there any questions?
Council?
I just have a couple. So it's a 50-year contract from what I read. If there's a consolidation or a unified dispatch that end up developing in one location citywide, would this cover that, or would that be disbanded and something different be put in?
This covers that's kind of two different items. So we've got this as the shared public safety system, and then we've got the actual makeup of how many dispatch centers are operated within the county. This agreement would not affect or not relate really with any changes to how many entities are having a PSAP located at them. Okay. Other than there are some clauses in there, especially in Appendix 1, which talk about if an agency stops participating as a PSAP, what the structure of the governance would be under those circumstances. That would be the effect. Okay. And then this isn't really a problem, but it's a concern I have, that this agency does have a county commissioner sit on the governance board, but we don't have anyone representing the local councils. And we do have our city managers from the entities. And this is maybe a question for Alex, is for the expenditures that might come out of this, future software, whatever, will you bring, or will the city managers bring that information back to the local councils to discuss before the expenditures are made?
Yeah, I think that certainly could be an expectation. We could do that. I don't think they're going to be significant over time. I think the reason that framework was looked at was because largely it's an operational governance. There may be a financial issue from time to time, and there needed to be some structure if you have disagreements operationally between the various entities, that then this extra board, the city managers and the county commission, could get involved in resolving those issues, maybe over preferences. But I think largely the decisions will be driven by, what's operationally the best. And there were some finances, obviously, but yeah, we could certainly do that. But I don't think they're going to be significant going forward. Well,
we have 22% of whatever expenditure that there is, and that was just my concern. And then in looking at our city, at the budget that we're going to address in the next meeting, there's $153,000 in that budget for dispatch shared server. Is that what this is, or is that something different?
Yeah. Yes, that's it.
That's it. Okay.
Okay. Mr. Morris, you had a question?
Yeah, I'm curious, this agreement, is this common in the state, or are we leading out with this, or are we behind? Should we have already done this, or are we just curious?
There are other relationships in other counties. So Salt Lake County to our south has a relationship between the two large centers there. VEC and Salt Lake City are actually consolidating their CAD system right now. They began that process many years ago, and it's coming to fruition right now. Weber County is a consolidated dispatch center, so Weber and Morgan counties have one CAD and RMS across the entire county. It's not uncommon by any means. Utah County with 5 PSAPs, it does almost the exact same thing as what we're proposing today in having one system support multiple PSAPs.
So we're catching up.
We are catching up.
Okay, thank you.
Council, does
Just one other quick question. So I know we've used Spillman for years. The other agencies, Bountiful, Clearfield, and the county, is Spillman going to be new to them, or is that something they've utilized as well?
Clearfield and Davis County are currently Spillman customers. Clearfield's been a customer for more than 20 years, longer than us. Davis County is also a long-term customer. Bountiful has been utilizing a different vendor, so it will be new to them. We plan on assisting them and helping them get up to speed too, so everyone has similar experience with it.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Just a quick question, maybe for Gary. Based on the population size, as accounts for your percentage of what you're paying, with Layton having a 22%, and we have a lot more build out to come. Someone like Bountiful or someone in that nature probably built out pretty much. So does that mean that increasing costs will come as the population increases, or is the effective date of the agreement when we sign it?
So my understanding is the effective date of the agreement governs. There is accommodation for amendments to this over time, but I don't see anything in it that I just went through real quick and did a quick review after reading it once. But I don't see anything. Carl, do you know of anything in there that might?
No, as far as if populations would change significantly, I'm sure that could be relooked at. This is for the ongoing costs over the years, which whether our share is 22 or 23 or 25 would be a relatively small amount of money difference when we're looking at these ongoing costs.
What's full build out population for us? It's a 50-year contract, right? So what are the estimations for full build out?
I think it's varied, but roughly 120, 118, 120.
So if it's an effective date now, that's better for us. That was my point. Yeah. If it grows, then we have more, which we're going to pay anyway. I was just curious about the effective date. So thank you.
Yeah, and one thing to note, I think Carl touched on this, is the way the contract is written. The contract is really between the 4 PSAP operators. So there are other entities that don't have their own PSAP that would contract for services from one of those PSAPs. So over time, it's not a prediction, but it's certainly a possibility that over time, as that physical consolidation may take place, you may have somebody who's now being dispatched by somebody else decide to go with us. If they come with us, that's going to increase our percentage of population we're dispatching to, but there would be a contract. We're paying for our citizens, but if we're dispatching for another entity, by contract, they would pay us for our costs in doing that. So we think it'll stay fairly constant. Also, one of the things Carl's been great about is if there may be outside of the shared system, we each have individual components. Maybe there's a system, a module that we really want in Layton, but the other PSAPs, it isn't important to them, but it is to us. Well, then we pay that our own cost for that. So anything that's not shared, you can put it on the system. It meets all the appropriate criteria and safety, but you have to pay for it totally. So the only thing that's shared is things that are truly shared, and that allows independence and flexibility, but it also makes sure that nobody's subsidizing anybody else. Everybody's paying their fair share.
Could I also point out, Mayor,
Absolutely.
members of the council, that subsection 7 actually allows for, it's a 50-year contract, but any consortium member can actually withdraw as long as they've met their minimum obligation under the agreement, because there is some base equipment that needs to be purchased by the entire group. So once that is met, we can withdraw with 1 year notification. I don't foresee that happening, but there is that provision in there.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? Okay. If not, then I'll look for a motion regarding Resolution 21-37.
Madam Mayor, I move that we adopt Resolution 2137, the interlocal agreement regarding shared public safety and information systems as it was productive.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second that we adopt item A on the consent items, Resolution 21-37. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Very good. Thank you, council. That draws this, that's the last item that we had on our agenda for our special meeting. So I would look for a motion to close this meeting at this time so that we can go into our next meeting.
Make a motion that we close this meeting.
Okay, thank you very much.
Is anybody going to second it?
I'll second it.
Okay, all right, very good. So that officially closed our special work meeting, and we will now go into our regular scheduled council meeting for August 5th of 2021. Our actual start time is going to be 7:06. And with that, we'll go ahead and conduct this meeting as we usually do with the opening of a prayer and pledge. And we change it up each month. And being that this is a new month, Councilmember Bloxham will lead us in these two actions.
Please rise and we'll repeat the pledge with me. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful to gather together today as a legislative body and members of the city and citizens to discuss the agenda items today. And we're grateful for the nation in which we live in and the constitutional freedoms that we have. We're grateful for the great state we live in and the city that we are able to serve. We ask thee to please bless us with thy spirit, that we may be able to have our minds enlightened and that we may be able to conduct our business in a way that would be pleasing unto thee and beneficial to those with whom we serve. We are grateful for all the blessings that thou gives us, especially to live in this wonderful city. Please bless our residents that they may be safe and that they may be able to conduct themselves in a way that will be pleasing unto thee. Again, we ask for thy spirit to be with those who will speak today and those who will take part in these discussions, that we may do so in a way that is conducive to good governance. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you very much, Councilman Bloxham. Okay, Council, we'll go ahead and move on to item number 2, since this is a meeting that we need to stick specifically to the topic. I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to Tracy Probert, who's our finance director, to educate us on the property tax increase.
Mayor, members of the council, I'll just give a brief introduction here. We're waiting for I'll talk a little slowly so that the screen can come down and the slideshow can be presented. But after this brief introduction, we'll hold a public hearing and accept public comment on a proposed property tax increase that's part of the 2021-2022 budget. This meeting has been properly advertised and noticed. Flyers went out in all the utility bills so that the residents and property owners were aware of the purpose and intent of this increase in the city tax. The main purpose is funding of paramedic services in Davis County and the change that's occurring in that funding process. The Davis County Sheriff's Office is going to turn responsibility for paramedic services over to the cities within the county. In doing so, they will be eliminating a levy that they've had on as part of the county levy for quite some time. And that, if you look at your property tax notice, that's paramedic taxes within the county. And so they have a specific levy for that. They'll be eliminating that. And what is being called an increase on the city's part is simply picking up that same exact levy. And so as people have reviewed the flyer, the information that was sent out, the official notice that had to be put in the paper could only talk to the fact that it was an increase in the city tax. But the reason for my brief presentation tonight is to explain that, in fact, the city is only taking on what the county is doing away with. And that is so that we can continue to receive funding to run this paramedic service in the city. Now, we've been running paramedic service for some time. If we give a little brief history of that, and this was also in the information, in 1976, Davis County began paramedic service, and they started their levy, tax levy on the property owners. In 1994, Layton City began providing ambulance service, and in 2001, obtained the licensing necessary to provide our own paramedic service, and at that time entered into a contract with Davis County to receive a portion of the tax levy that they had been collecting countywide. So they weren't just collecting that on Layton City residents, they were collecting it countywide for paramedic services, and through the way of a contract, Layton City was able to receive a portion of that so that we could cover our own area with our paramedic services. Now, like I just mentioned, in 2022, Davis County is going to discontinue paramedic services, and their levy will actually go away it shouldn't be on the tax notice right now for this current year. So just to provide some information about paramedic services, I think pretty much everyone would understand why that's important, but it's an advanced licensure, and it allows people on an ambulance that are licensed paramedics to provide pre-hospital advanced emergency medical care. That's more than just someone that comes into your house and says, okay, we need to get you to the hospital, and throws you on a gurney, and they can't really do too much except transport you, right? These individuals have advanced education and licensure. They can provide advanced life support in cardiac situations, monitor cardiac machines in case someone's having a cardiac arrest, advanced airway management, IV administration. They do administer a wide variety of medications, and they're licensed to do that. And all of this in order to help sustain life as if someone is in, and I've heard some of our people who are actually here tonight state that this is a mobile emergency room, right? So when you have paramedics on board, this ambulance suddenly becomes a mobile emergency room. Obviously, these individuals are not, emergency room physicians, but they do work very closely and have advanced training. And there's a contract with a physician that comes and talks and teaches these individuals all the time in different techniques to help sustain life until those individuals can get to an emergency room. So that's why this service is so important, and why, given that the county is discontinuing their side of it, we would want to maintain the funding in order to continue that service. Most of this slide I've effectively talked about. The one thing that I probably haven't is, a couple of things. The county continued to grow, so why did they decide to discontinue their side of that service, or to transition that over to the cities? And that was mostly because as they studied the different areas of the city, the growth, population, and the needs, it's more efficient and effective for that to be provided at the individual city level. And what does that do for Layton City residents is that it actually enhances the service. At the present time, we have paramedics in our city, but some of the surrounding cities don't. And so when they need an advanced life support type service, they call on us. We can't necessarily call on them for that help. Once all of the cities are involved, then if we're overloaded, or we're in a mutual aid type circumstance, an emergency large scale event that happens, we would be able to call the same level of service into our city from surrounding cities. And so Layton City residents actually will benefit by all of the cities being involved instead of it just being a few and a special service district to the south. So that's why the county, along with all of the emergency responder personnel throughout the county, meeting together, decided this would be the most effective and efficient way to provide this vital service. So as far as taxation goes, that's the reason for our meeting tonight, is to receive public comment. I make the statement here, no tax increase for Layton City property owners. That statement is made related to this issue, right? Layton City is not proposing any other property tax increase except for the provision of funding for paramedic services. And in that case, we are just taking on, like I've already mentioned, the levy that the county is dropping. And so what that means related to this service is a neutral effect for property owners in the city. It doesn't mean that a property owner's taxes won't go up for some other reason. There are a number of other taxing entities, most of which are holding public hearings this year. And so, a property owner might look at their tax notice and say, well, mine went up. Well, it wasn't related to this issue. So that I just wanted to kind of make that clear in the public meeting today. And you can see that from this demonstration, or from this little sheet here, an example of a property tax notice. I don't know where my pointer went. Somewhere on here. Anyway, there's a line on there that says Davis Paramedic, and you can see that the tax rate is 0.00108, and that goes to zero. And so a property owner, a $500,000 market value home in Layton City, that portion will be reduced by $29.70. We will add that to our city tax, and the city tax will go up $29.70. And so that's a net zero for the property owners. With that brief explanation of the purpose of this property tax meeting, are there any questions from the council before we open the public?
Council, do you have any questions? No? Okay, then I'll
I have a question.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Sure.
Maybe I can ask Chief Ward or Chief Cook or Chief Mon if we didn't have this money coming in, this amount, and it's around $700,000 or
$612,000.
okay,
right?
$612,000. What would our levels of service look like today? What would our staffing look like if we just didn't have this?
Well, I believe right now, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, we'll just let.
Thanks, Chief Ward. Here he is.
Sorry, I didn't realize you.
Currently, that money that we received in Davis County pays for 21 positions on the department. So we'd be a significant reduction in staff, as well as the revenue that we receive from the county we utilize for replacement for different equipment, and such as ambulances and paramedic equipment that's required. So it's a very significant. I mean, if you reduce that out of the fire department, as you know, we have the fire fund. It comes out of the general fund, and then the EMS is run as an enterprise fund, and they're both almost equal in what the budget is. So that would be pretty significant to on the EMS side, and a significant reduction.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you very much. Any other questions before we open our public hearing? Okay, if not, then I need a motion to open our public hearing.
So move.
Thank you. Okay. This is a public hearing regarding the property tax increase. So at this point, we'd entertain any comments from our citizens. You're welcome to stand up to either side of the podium. We'll need you to state your name and address for the records, and share your views with us. So the time is now yours. Okay. Even though I know that, excuse me, that we do have folks in the audience, and we have been taking comments online. Gary, by chance, is there anything online? Okay. Okay, seeing that there's nothing online, and we don't have any comments from those who are here in attendance, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to close the public hearing and take action. Well, just to close the public hearing on this one item.
Make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Okay, thank you. Okay, being that this is part of this particular item is also part of item number B on our agenda. Sorry. We'll go ahead and have Tracy present item number B, which is the adoption of the budget, which would also include the tax rate. Don did. So Tracy, go ahead.
Yeah, so thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Tonight I have ordinance 21-14, which is to adopt the budget, tax rate, and the compensation schedule for elected statutory and appointed officers for fiscal year 21-22. We've reviewed the budget various times. Nothing has changed since the last time we reviewed the budget in June. We adopted everything except for the tax rate because of this public process that we needed to go through. The overall budget, all funds for the city, $109,178,789. $40,865,375 of that is the general fund, which relates to property tax, sales tax, and the funding of general operations of the city, police, fire, streets, and so forth, administration, et cetera. At this time, I don't know if there are any questions that the council might have related to the budget.
I have one, and I think I know the answer, but I just want to get it clarified. So we'll adopt this, but we have the ability to make changes as the year goes on, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So as the year goes on, if there's something that comes up where we need to amend the budget, we do have to go through a noticing process so that people are aware that the budget that's been adopted is going to be amended. And we usually do that at about a mid-year point just to clean up little items that come along. But if there was something large that would actually cause us to go over budget, then we'd bring that in advance of signing a contract or anything like that.
Okay, the reason why I'm asking is because I'm hoping that at some point we're going to look at the salaries for our public safety because of what's going on in the environment around us in other cities. And I don't want to, hopefully that doesn't wait a year to be discussed, so we don't lose good people over it. So just wanted to make sure that was something we could look at, even if we adopt it today.
Yeah, we can open the budget anytime the council wishes to do it.
Okay. Any other questions, council?
So if there aren't any other questions, I would recommend that we open a public hearing related to the budget.
Okay. Would someone like to make that motion to open this public hearing regarding ordinance 14, excuse me?
Sure, I'll make the motion.
Okay. The motion's been made by Councilman Thomas, Tom Day.
Hey, Thomas.
I call him Thomas, so I'm sorry. Tom Day. Okay, so once again, thank you. And it's seconded by Zach Bloxham. Once again, this is a public hearing, so we'll go ahead and entertain any type of comments regarding the adoption of our budget, including the property tax rate increase that is basically a net neutral for the residents at this time. Okay, seeing that there's none here, let me ask Mr. Crane if by chance he has one.
There is one question online.
Okay.
This might be better directed to, I don't remember the statement being made, but it says, if we do not adopt the new plan for emergency services, you said the west side would suffer. Is that at a current population or future? I don't think that was accurate, but maybe Chief might be the best person to respond to that.
Okay. This will teach you not to sit in the back of the room.
I'm not quite understanding that the perspective of that. I mean, currently we provide paramedic service with 2 units under this provision. With the increase in the units and the amount in the county, we would be adding a 3rd unit within our city as mutual and automatic aid increases. And of course, as we talked about earlier, as Carl Keene talked about, whether those get consolidated into one center and we start crossing geopolitical boundaries to help each other out. It's the necessity of these other cities that are going through the same process as we are this evening. They're having to increase their property tax rate, even though those cities had been paying to the county, as far as their county levy, they were paying to the county. Now they're going to do the same thing we are and going to receive that money directly as they stand up these services. So by having our neighboring cities now provide paramedic service, that will enhance the ability, because currently our neighboring cities don't. We rely on the Davis County Sheriff's Department for assistance. If both of our paramedic units are tied up, we have to call upon the Davis County Sheriff Unit, which we don't know where they're coming from. They could be coming from Farmington. They could be up in Sunset or Clinton or somewhere like that. So I'm not quite understanding the situation. I think with the increase in the units, currently we have basically 8 paramedic units right now in the city. South Davis has already started another unit already, so there's 9, and actually South Weber is going to stand up a unit as well. So technically, we're going to have 12 units in the county, which is only going to increase the level of service for all the citizens in Davis County significantly. Plus, they'll be geographically located to serve the citizens better, because right now they don't know if there's a medical call in West Point, they might be relying on a deputy to come out of Farmington on a medical emergency, and time is critical. That's why we have response time standards that we try to adhere to, and that's why we strategically locate fire stations so that they have a geographic area that would be what we call their first due response area. And so this will have them stationary at these stations, not that they won't be busy, but they'll be geographically located, as we've all met as a county with all the county fire chiefs and the city managers. We've talked about this in terms of where the station location is going to be for the paramedic units. The locations are going to be serviced much better geographically. So I'm not sure if that answers that question or not.
I think, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I think what I gleaned from that was it was targeted towards the west side of Layton, which to me, I hate to hear east side, west side. To me, we're one big city. But the fact that we have a station down there on Hillfield Road, I mean,
there's a paramedic engine company. We place our paramedics on the engine because that allows the ambulance, if it's not an advanced life support call, the ambulance can transport where paramedics are not needed, and it doesn't tie up that paramedic unit on what might be an extended transport where their paramedics are not necessarily required. And so currently we have a paramedic engine at Station 51, and then we have a paramedic engine up at Station 52 on Church Street. So our plan is to implement a third paramedic unit at our Station 3 on Fort Lane.
Okay. And then let me just because I think the question will come up, we might as well get asked now. So when the new station opens up on Valley View Drive, what type of a unit, what type of apparatus is the proper term, right?
Apparatus, sure.
What you have up there?
We will have a staffed engine company. We require all of our personnel to be at least an advanced EMT, which is above the basic emergency medical technician level. They do have some basic advanced life support skills. They are able to administer IVs and a certain limited amount of medication. And so they do have some advanced life support skills. And so that engine company and an ambulance will be stationed up at Station 4 as well as a brush unit that they'll be able to cross-staff as well.
Okay. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Don't go away.
But wait, there's more.
I believe Chief answered the primary question. That is that the service will be enhanced. No matter where you are in the city, it will be enhanced. And then the follow-up question was, is that looking at current status of service, or is it actually planning for the future as well, in the way that that we will be staffed and in the way that we're essentially funding it today?
Well, yeah, we will increase as well. I mean, that's all part of our plan, and the master plan within that county is the additional units that South Davis would have has started a third paramedic unit. We'll have a third paramedic unit, and all of the other the entities in the cities will have a single paramedic unit. Not to say that in 10 years from now, 15 years from now, with population growth, some of these other cities or districts, North Davis Fire District may put a second paramedic unit in operation. South Davis Metro may add a fourth paramedic unit. I mean, it just depends on growth and call volume, and that's going to drive it in response time too as well. Mm-hmm. We have about half the time we have multiple calls in this city, not always paramedic level calls, but we with now that we're run probably close to 7,200 calls this year, you can imagine with 80% of those being emergency medical service in nature, there's a lot of times we will have an overlap, and we may have to call on these outside cities to support us just as we support them.
So there's one more question from the same person, Aaron Sandberg, and it says, is there an opportunity to make more revenue from emergency services being loaned to other cities, such as can we charge them more over time? I guess the question is, if we're loaning services outside of our area, do we charge for those services? And I don't think you make money off
No,
of any.
we don't. With our neighboring cities, we operate under a mutual aid agreement, and basically it's an automatic aid agreement, which will be enhanced now that we're getting a little bit more improvement on our communication side. We operate on a mutual aid basis. So if all of our paramedic units are tied up and we have another advanced life support call that's on the south end of the city, we could anticipate that would be Kaysville. On the west side, we could anticipate it could be Syracuse. On the north end, it may be North Davis Fire District, or it may even be South Weaver. So we do have good surrounding cities providing that are going to be providing paramedic service that are in that process.
Thank you. That's it.
That's it? Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank
That
you.
was a good explanation there. We appreciate it. Okay. Seeing that there's no other public comment regarding the adoption of our budget, Council, I'll look for a motion to close our public hearing and take action regarding ordinance 21-14.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we adopt ordinance 21-14, which is to adopt the budget, property tax rate, and compensation schedule for elective, statutory, and appointed officers for fiscal year 2021-2022, and close the public hearing.
Thank you. Perfect. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Being that this is an item regarding money, I'm going to go ahead and take a roll call vote on this. I'll start out with Councilmember Day,
Yes.
Councilmember Bloxham,
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Councilman Morris,
Aye.
Councilman Thomas.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. That passes unanimous. And that actually brings our meeting to a conclusion, knowing that following state statute that we could only speak on this one particular item. I apologize that we weren't able to take any public comments regarding this like we typically do, but certainly if anybody's here and would like to speak to us, I'm welcome. I'm open to being available, and as well as I'm sure any council member. So again, thank you for attending this meeting, and have a good evening.
I'll make a motion that we close the meeting and adjourn.
Okay. It's officially closed.